Now, have you ever just been scrolling YouTube? You don't know what you're looking for, but you just want a nice video to watch. And you eventually go down a rabbit hole of some drama that you didn't even know existed. And before you know it, you have an opinion on it. That was me about 4 months ago because I randomly came across a video about ethanisonline. I ain't gonna lie, part of me felt bad for the nigga, I'ma be real. All you have to do is search ethanisonline on YouTube, and you're gonna see video after video exposing, talking shit, all this type of jazz about this nigga. And the bad bit about it is that it comes up before Ethan's actual videos at this point. There's so many of them, and I want to make sure I give Ethan his flowers or his props, because it'd be difficult for some people to keep going. And shout out to Ethan, he has a dedicated fan base, dedicated audience to his videos, still making videos even with all the shit that's been going on with him. So you know what? I don't know nothing about you, but shout out to you, bro. Also, I ain't gonna lie, I like your intro, the little hi thing. You know that? Hi.
Hi.
You know that little And obviously, the first video that set off that whole drama between Sensitive Society and ethanisonline is this video. Oh, and just so you have context, Sensitive Society is the reason I found out about ethanisonline. Now, I want to preface this by saying that I'm not a fan of either Sensitive Society or ethanisonline or anyone in that sphere that's beefing each other. I genuinely don't care. I just happened to see this, and there was part of the video I disagreed with, so now I'm talking about it. But there was a part where Ethan and Sensitive Society were going back and forth. You know, it was about being fat, and it was about losing weight and all this type of jazz. To be fair, you know what, I'm yapping. Let me just play the clip.
Obviously, being fat is not a fucking choice. The amount of corn sweeteners and things that do not need them in the United States is unreal. Did you know there's high fructose corn syrup in things like chips, crackers, bread?
I ain't gonna lie, bro. You named nothing but carbohydrates, my guy. Now, as a fellow fat guy, you know, I'm obviously wearing the jacket so you can't see it as much, but I'm fat. And obviously the US and England is two separate countries, but we move pretty much the same way. And when it comes to the production of food, again, pretty similar in a lot of aspects. High fructose corn syrup, all that extra jazz sweeteners, I'm with you on that. I actually agree. There's so much of that bullshit. But where I don't agree is using that as a reason as we're not fat. I mean, to be fair, look, I get where he's coming from, but it's not like we're forced to eat that shit. We can go to the supermarket, get some nice healthy food. To be fair, we get pushed this type of shit all the time because it's slightly cheaper and it's more accessible, you know, fast food chains, all that jazz. Eating that stuff is not necessarily what makes you fat. It's the consistency of it. Obviously partnered with, you know, healthy habits, exercising, you know, all that type of jazz. But a lot of it is down to food and what you eat consistently. Like my mom and my sister are in good shape. They eat fast food. They just don't eat it all the time. And if they do eat fast food, they're not pigging out. They eat a little bit. Obviously, when it comes to me, I'm fat as fuck. That's because I eat a lot. But sometimes I don't match the exercise with it. Or sometimes I might go slightly overboard with the amount of fast food I'm eating. I might still be in a calorie deficit technically, but because I'm eating a lot of fatty foods, it kind of just balances out. So it is difficult, 100%, but we have healthy options, man. I'll be real. Like the amount of bread that's organically made and shit. I mean, in England, we have Tesco, bro. You can just go to Tesco and just get the baked bread there. None of that extra shit that they put in, all these chemicals. Because all the sliced bread, I'm sorry to break it to you guys, but all the sliced bread, even wholemeal, has got all that synthetic shit added to it, bro. It's just how it is.
And not only that, but there are a multitude of factors that dictate your weight. Genetics being the most important factor, and maybe this is controversial, but I don't think we should gatekeep people from eating what they want because their genetics dictate it might make them a little heavier than somebody else.
I don't agree with that one, Chief. Genetics are a factor, sure, but they're not the biggest factor. I don't think so. I mean, maybe in some small cases, but when it comes to like the majority of the population, it's not genetics. It's pretty much just, it's either laziness or breaking cycles. Because for me personally, like I have the motivation, I have all that stuff, I go to the gym. It's breaking the cycle like after like a month and a half. That's what gets me, and that's what keeps me from like actually taking that next step. Because there's people with a slower metabolism than me. There's people that, you know, have worse genetics, I guess, than me, but they manage to stay in shape, or stay at least in better shape than me. You know, I have so many things going for me. Like I'm really tall, so I can hide it better. My blood pressure's not high, like I have a normal blood pressure. Like I've got so many things that point me into the sphere of losing weight and being healthy, but my own choices have stopped me from doing that. And for most people, it's that simple as well. Now, of course, there are obviously people who genetics play a big factor, but again, there are people who have those genetic disadvantages and are still in better shape than most of us. I don't even want to make it seem like I'm saying, oh, you just got to deal with it, but in a way you kind of have to deal with it because we all get dealt a short hand at some form of life. Like there's some people, for example, who have trouble learning in a classroom. They may be good everywhere else, but when it comes to sitting down academic learning, they might struggle a bit, but they're still expected to make grades. They're still expected to pass exams. They might have to do slightly more extra work than other people, but they're still expected to meet a goal. And obviously you have to accommodate for these people because, you know, they'll get a bit of extra help, but they're still expected to reach a certain standard. And when it comes to people like me who are fat, of course we're going to be getting more help in terms of like courses and advice and watching videos and all that type of stuff, but we're still expected to, just like everyone else, meet a certain standard. And if that standard is losing weight and looking healthier and acting healthier and being healthier, then yeah, we deserve a bit more help because we're in a worse situation than the average person, but we should still be expected to meet that goal, surely.
America is also littered with food deserts where nutritious food is really difficult to consistently find, and fast food is so cheap and accessible that people experiencing poverty sometimes have no choice but to eat what they can get.
I mean, I understand that. To be fair, I don't know how bad it is in the US, so I'm not really going to comment on that. If it's like that in the US, let me know. In terms of England, you can find cheap food everywhere and you can find healthy food everywhere. Of course, finding a McDonald's is easier than finding like a fucking Holland and Barrett's. I get the cheap route. I understand where he's going with it. I ain't gonna lie, the shit is not cheap no more. I'm sorry, McDonald's is expensive as shit now, especially compared to what it used to be. Cheeseburgers have almost doubled in price, like a regular cheeseburger. Meals have gone up almost £2. Fast food is getting more expensive, and the whole, you know, organic food is more expensive and it's harder to find, all that stuff. We're seeing that less and less and less nowadays. I'm gonna be so real, because organic is really the wave. I'm not gonna lie, eating healthy is the wave, and I don't want to make it seem like, oh, it's a fad that will run out, but if it is a fad, it's in stock right now. There's so many places that promote eating healthy, that promote doing healthy activity. The chain fast food places are just getting more expensive as the corporates want more money. Like back in the day, right? Corporates, of course they cared about money back then too, but the loyalty of the customers is what brought them so much money. Now they have the loyalty like cemented, so they can raise the prices and people will still buy. But back in the day, they made the shit hella cheap because that was a way to keep in customers. Now, of course, they have the fan base, so people just brainwashed to eat the shit, including me. Every once in a while, I can't lie, I'm eating McDonald's. It's just how it goes. But the whole idea of it getting cheap, nothing's cheap now. Maybe like 5-10 years ago I could hear what you're saying, but the shit is not cheap now. Everything's expensive, so you might as well just eat healthy. That's the way I see it. It's actually cheaper for me to eat healthier now than it is for me to order food or to go out and get fast food.
And again, maybe I'm being a little firebrand controversial guy, but I also don't think we should blame people and shame them for circumstances they don't have very much control over.
We do have control over it. I'm gonna be real, Ethan. We do have control over it. I'd like to think like 90% of us have control over it. Now, do I believe fat people deserve to be shamed? Not really. Now, when it comes to making jokes, that's a separate thing. When I think of someone being shamed, I think of people making jokes. The person clearly doesn't like the jokes, but they keep making the jokes anyway in order to embarrass them. That's what I think being shamed is technically. Who the fuck is messaging me? But if you're just making jokes and people don't really care, that's not really shaming to me. That's just making jokes. And I get where you're coming from. No one wants to feel bad about anything, but sometimes the truth hurts, and it hurts with me. And I've tried so many different things and it feels like there's no end in sight. But I'm sorry, Ethan, we all have a choice. My choice right now is I'm not mentally tough enough and I need to man up, woman up, anyone up. All right, as long as it gets me skinny, I'll woman up. I don't care. But that's what everyone wants to talk about, being fat not being a choice. I wholeheartedly disagree. No hate to ethanisonline. You keep doing your thing. I'ma occasionally watch a video if I feel like it. Shout out to everyone else. Hope you guys continue making content, prospering on the internet, get your bag up. As you can tell, I really don't give a fuck. I don't care. But I hope you guys enjoyed nonetheless. Yeah, it's gonna be a bitch to edit, man. Peace.
I'm not a savior nor a saint. Told 30s and sticks with an open case. I try to behave when I know I can't. So purpose of this is to motivate. What's the ticket? Shit we can negotiate. Take a toke of the law while I pour the drink.